Hey guys, Max here from Max's Roost. I'm coming to you with another video. This one is my design process for a bard. I told myself that if I ever learned to play an instrument, I would make one, and that way I could have like some in-person role-playing that is legit. On account that I can't sing, I chose the guitar for this. So basically, how I like to draw my characters is I start out with my, thumbnail sketch, and I do that on a piece of paper. Then I transfer that idea to a basic grid, and then rough sketch, some line work, which I'm very, experimental with, and then finally doing a full render. So here actually you can see I am starting to construct my character based on the thumbnail sketch, and this is just like a basic grid. I'm just trying to get all the measurements and all accurate. I'm showing you here the classic tiefling horns, and I used to draw my tieflings like that. I like the Baldur's Gate versions of tieflings a lot, and in fact I'm inspired greatly by a tiefling that I made for a playthrough as a bard. She had yellow skins and kind of like a yellowish horn color too. I wanted to kind of almost pay homage to her by making a character that kind of looked like her. So, as you can see, I'm starting to sketch out a rough idea of where I want that hair. And the big thing you want to know with hair is keep it simple, and don't draw every single strand. Almost like block it in. You can see I'm now copying and pasting an ear. If you want to have the same shaped ear, on both sides, all you gotta do is kind of copy and paste. I do a similar thing with eyes. You can probably see it as I continue on here. This is sped up about 50, maybe 60%. So I'm starting to draw some kind of jewelry, hair rings, because I think they're very charming. You can see them a lot in like dreads or like Viking style hairdos, and I wanted her to have a very grungy feel. I definitely think I succeeded. I'm zooming in and I'm starting to draw a little bit more of the face. At first I go over and I make those lips, but I think she looked a bit sad, so I start them over. I don't know if I do it here or later. As well as with the nose, you can see I started with almost like a button noise, but I erase it because I don't like that. There you are. I trace that nose up to the first eyebrow, and from there I can get a good idea of where I want the other side to be. The nose connects to the brow, so if you ever have trouble with trying to place the eyebrow, just know that it usually connects directly to the nose, depending on the style. I know that in anime, the noses are shrunken a lot, so it's a bit different. I go with almost like a Roman nose here because, well, I just like those noses. I always do draw what people think is like the eye bag area. I just feel like it gives my character a little bit more life. I don't want this character to look tired, but I just think they give a little bit extra of something. You can see here I start drawing all on the same layer as my edits, so I merge them so that I don't get confused. Here I'm starting to draw a smile. There's a point that I experiment and try to give a toothy grin to this character, but I decide against it. You'll note that I copy and pasted the eye over, and that's something that is another way to draw eyes a little bit easier if you ever have trouble. I rotate to get a better, I guess, stroke on my pencil. I'm sorry if I'm confusing anyone from all the twirling. I do it a lot in my drawing process. I don't really know what clothes to give her still. I didn't actually put too much thought into it. But at least for now, I know that I want her to have that pretty nose ring, and I think I even give her an ear cuff. You can see these two pierced spikes that go through her nose. I was actually inspired by Avatar for the idea, because I remember in one of the scenes, there's one of the Na'vi have like an entire spike going through their nose. I thought it might be cool. I quickly erase it because I think to myself it almost looks like a mustache in the wrong location. I'm adding another kind of hair ring here. And then I go into basically easy and sort of clothing, just something as a placeholder. Like I said, I haven't designed any clothes for her yet, but at least I have the color I want to make them down. I think I did like a very dark purplish, bluish, desaturated color. And I added tertiary color underneath for the shirt underneath. Finishing up some kind of details on the hair. Inspired by Calvin and Hobbes for that kind of, straight. And then suddenly there's something that's breaking up when it's a shaved head. There was a panel, I remember, that kind of had that similar idea. Here I try to make a toothy grin without moving the face at all, and I don't like it. And I think I just go back and I'm like, no, it doesn't look very great. Maybe in the future I'll master toothy grins, but for now I'm not. Kind of removing some more of lines from the chin, so it's not as strong of a chin. Flipping it just to make sure it looks good, and I think I do a lot of the line work with the canvas flipped. I guess since it's a fresh way of looking at it, I may as well start drawing with that new, fresh, outlook. I am doing the line work with the same pen I did the rough sketch on. Sometimes I switch it up, other times not so much. So basically, the idea of line work is, for me at least, I want to keep the same features as the rough sketch, but I just try to be a bit more careful with it. And I add a little bit more, I guess, care to my drawing process. I think for a couple seconds, maybe I want to give her a beauty mark. I remove it because to me it almost reminds me of a stray, like, brush stroke that I accidentally put there. Just kind of blocking in the nose. I like to add these lines at the nose, like at the top, the middle of the nostril. I think it kind of gives a bit more depth. And then the nose ring. And I hold it down and I use my finger to make it a more circular. I'm just trying to be a little bit more exact with it than the sketch. A little highlight there. Making those eye bag thingies. I don't exactly know what you would call them. And here I'm blocking in the shape of the eye, but I'm not going to copy and paste the eyebrows. I'm going to copy and paste the eye, but not the eyebrow itself. She kind of looks like she's staring into your soul here. And I change that in the future, but not the near future. What I did was I I copy and pasted it twice, and I used that second copy to be able to see where exactly if it matched up. And now I'm rotating it because the head is slightly tilted in the canvas, and I wanted to make sure that that eye didn't look like it was flying off or askew. So with eyebrows, I just kind of flick the pen lightly. I like to do this kind of W or M shape on the bottom ones. And then, of course, I'm drawing the upper lid here, and I always try to draw the upper lid of my characters. I just think it looks pleasant to the eye. You don't have to, though, because not all, I don't know what the shape of the eyelid would be called, but not all characters have that shape of the eyelid. And it might be why I have a lot of same face syndrome in my characters, is because I always draw that eyelid, so maybe something I need to explore in the future. Just doing some adjustments. I think the other one, it looks a little bit different, so I add some more eyelashes. That looks good. Making that eyebrow. And I'll do the other one. I don't know if I do it now or later. Might be later. I'll have to be doing it now. And what I'll do in the future is I'll draw the hair on top and just erase where the hair covers. You'll see that in the future. Just trying to, I think here I'm just thinking about where exactly I want to start. I try not to burn myself out by keeping to the same location. I jump around the canvas. That way I don't get bored. That's like my biggest enemy, is burnout while I'm drawing. Or when you're just not getting the right image that you want. So you give up. I have done that many times. Actually, I've tried to draw this bard before, but I don't know if it's because I was recording for YouTube, but I felt more confident this time. So, thank you guys for that. I'll attribute it to you guys. You're trying to make the horn match up with the other one in detail. I think I call it there. Say it's good. Zooming out and rotating, making sure that I like it. Going to the ear now. Ears I used to struggle with a lot, but actually now they are pretty easy. Believe it or not, the way I learned how to draw ears properly was looking at the Falmer from Skyrim. The shape of their ear and how they're put together. I pretty much use, even if it's not a pointed eared race, I put the ear together the same way. And all of this is without a reference as well. Just my imagination. Which, ain't half bad, I'd say. Making that jawline a little bit less pointy. Some hash marks. Zooming in to change those eyes that stare into your soul. I wanted them to look a little bit more relaxed. Here I go, merging all my layers together because I forgot I made so many. That happens much more often than you think. And I'm not copying and pasting over these pupils. I'm just trying to draw them as naturally as I can, which sometimes I succeed and sometimes I don't. These ones I think turned out pretty good though. Her hair I do change from this because I gave her almost like a male pattern baldness. So I lower the scalp slightly in the future. It takes a while though. I go through the entire hair drawing process before I notice it. Sometimes you just need to look at something from far away to really understand copying or making a new layer so that I can put it over what I've already drawn, so I can just erase underneath afterwards. Erasing a bit here because I want to make another strand. I like the half and half, or kind of more long hair on one side hairstyle. Kind of a sucker for it. I've never made a character with it because there was this fear when I started out D&D that if I made a character with that hairstyle, I would make all of my characters with that hairstyle. If I could, I would, but I don't. Just finishing up the rest of the top of the hair, and then I go into the side, which is more complex, but I think I pull it off. Keeping it simple. Just block in the shape and add lines afterwards. That's what I do, at least. You can see here. Making that other hair ring, blocking in, and then adding the lines after. Blocking it in. And then adding the lines after. I think that's the best way to do it. Usually I do more lines closer to the neck to kind of make a feeling of depth. But still just doing that blocking in and adding lines afterwards. Want it to be grungy. Messy looking. Like she hasn't combed her hair for a couple days, maybe. I'm just finishing up the neck. I do a bit more. I think I do a hard black kind of corner there, as well as right underneath the chin. That way it looks like it's got more depth than it actually does. Some hash marks. I like those hash marks, so I add more. I remember seeing this, I'm like, yeah, that looks good. Now I'm drawing the part that I really... It's just almost like a placeholder. This isn't what she's gonna wear. It's just not. But I have to make her wear something. So this is what I come up with for now. Make a wrinkly old shirt underneath. I do think I want to keep the underneath shirt kind of wrinkly. Like maybe she dresses all fancy on the top of everything, but underneath it's, you know, she's a messier character. Kind of making sure I add that ear there, don't want to forget that. Tilting it, looking at it. Do I like it? That looks... Yeah, here we go. Fix up that hair, make it so she's not entirely bald. Checking it out, just look good. Yeah, here and there, yeah. Add those kind of creases where the horns would go. Do I like that? Yeah, I like that. So we'll delete the line work underneath. We're gonna flip it back to where it was previously. Finishing touches from places I missed. Now that the line work underneath was gone, I can tell. Put a bit more detail in. And now we're going to actually start with coloring. Now, like I said, my first character in Baldur's Gate was a bard, but my tiefling character I made in Baldur's Gate was also a bard. I guess my first one was a white dragonborn, but I like the yellow skin for tiefling, showing off that you can change the color on the top. I don't know, if you make a clipping mask of your line work, you can put on top of it any color you like and it'll change the color of the line work. I don't use that skill here, but I just wanted to show you off. So what's going on here is I'm just going around the entire area that I want to be yellow with my pen. And then once I've finished that, I will fill it. And this is kind of like a rough go around. I will clean up some areas afterwards, so don't be too sad if the eyes are yellow or the ear clip, the ear cuff is yellow. It's not final. I go into the saturation and hue to change it to how I like it. I like that color more. Now we're gonna go and color the horns. Basically the same thing, I just take that color all the way around the line, the border of that horn, and then I plop it down. Bam. Same thing over the other side. And I do like to match the horn color with the skin color. I don't like my horns to be like bright red and my skin color to be like a yellow. I just don't feel like it looks good. Now we're gonna go red hair. And though the hair is red, or I guess a ginger color hair, even though it's red, when the drawing is finished, I think it's because the yellow of the character, it almost pulls out how vibrant the hair is, and it almost looks more brown than anything. Like when you zoom in, you're like, that's definitely like an orangish, but with the entire character, it's like a light brown almost instead. That's color theory for you. Still, I'm pleased with how it looks at the end of the day. I think that it looks pretty solid. Just carefully going, and I clean up a little bit from there because I went over where I wanted to. Do the same thing over there. If you guys are enjoying this video, remember, please like, tell me why in the comment section if you want. If you're new here, say hi. Have a cup of tea. Stick around a while. Smaller areas, I just kind of scribble it in myself. I don't feel the need to use the color drop tool. Now we're going to block in a bigger area here. For a second I get confused. I'm thinking, am I going in the right area? Yes, I am. This is exactly where I want it. And you'll see in the future, this isn't all foolproof. I have holes in my coloration, but I fix that up later. Actually, it takes me a while to fix it up. I don't notice until I want to add like an opacity layer. So in the future, I might just block an entire area and then do a clipping mask. That might be more valuable. I'm choosing a color for those rings. It's blue, but it's supposed to be like a metal. I guess it's almost a turquoise, you know? It's almost like a silver in my eyes. Almost delete my nose ring. I scribble this in because you can't color drop on top of color, and I'm doing color on the entire thing. Do a lipstick color, start erasing instead of drawing. That was my bad. Color it in. I'm really pleased with that lipstick, actually. She never had lipstick in my Baldur's Gate playthrough, but I feel like it looks good. Doing the weird eye corners, tear ducts, that's what they're called. And then I do a gray for the eye at first, but then I realize this is a tiefling. It's gonna have like a different sclera or white of the eyes color. You know, I may be a Corman, but I don't know my eye anatomy very well, so sorry about that. I do really enjoy how these eyes turned out, though. I think they're quite pretty. At the end of the day, I wonder to myself if I'm all over the place with my colors for this character. It's very bright. She's a very bright character, but maybe that's not a bad thing considering she's a bard, you know? Cleaning up that eye bit. Went over where I wanted to draw. Rotating, seeing if I like it. I do. Now we're just gonna do a basic. This is the color that I do want to keep for the coat, whatever she's wearing on top. I think that it contrasts the yellow of her skin very well. And that's why I want to keep it. But I don't know about the undershirt. Probably change that color. Maybe not. It does also look good. What I did was I used the tertiary form of orange. Make sure I can color drop that. Ooh, yeah, I like that. And we're adding this in too. And this is just a quick concept. I think the total draw time was about 1 hour, 45 minutes. Usually for entire drawing sessions, I would do 7 hours at a time for something that's really finished, something that I really enjoy that's finalized. But even for the shading here, once I clean up some of these areas of color, gotta fix those. Sorry in advance if there's any flickering, because I turn it on and off quite a lot. Just cleaning up some areas. We all make mistakes, and as you can see, I've made mistakes with how I chose to do all this coloring. Because I've got holes in my color. Yeah. But I fix it up. I think at one point I started coloring it in with the color of the hair instead of the color of the actual metal. So I fix that. Don't exactly know what I was doing there, truthfully. Getting that skin color again, cleaning up the neck area. We got it. Get to that. Clean that up. Is that good? I think so. So now what I'm going to do is I think at first to do an overlay, but then I go to multiply. I do go back to overlay at the end of it, but I use an airbrush to just erase areas that I want to be brighter. I've never actually done this before. This is the first time. I wanted to try something new. I chose a heck of a time to do it, seeing as I'm recording. But you guys will have to let me know if you like how it turned out. Maybe I'll do this technique in the future. I do add some highlights otherwise, though. This is just like shadows areas for now. You'll see highlights soon. I don't go overboard. I probably should have added more than I did, but hey, happy accidents, you know? No mistakes. Adding where I'd like it for clothing. I settle on that. Erase the area of the eyes. Bottom lip area. And now I go highlights, and I choose almost like a bright turquoise, or a mint green. But it doesn't stay a mint green. I use the overlay in order to make it look a little bit different. Just some basic areas that I'd like the light to sit. Nothing too complicated or anything. It's still very sketchy. Very sketchy. But that's okay. Some more highlights. I believe I get the top of the shoulders too. Yep. And I overlay that. Put it to like 50 or so. Change that to overlay, because I realize, yeah, I do want that. Maybe around 50. Yeah. And then I believe I do a glowing effect on her one eye. Fail a little bit here and there. It's because I have it on a clipping mask, but I don't realize it. Not for a while, actually. I delete it and then it goes through and I'm like, oh, well, that's no different. It was a clipping mask. That's why. But I Gaussian blur it and then I burn it and then I put another effect. I don't remember if it was vivid light or overlay. It looks like I used screen at the end of it. I think that looks good. I had a background that's dark brown because I think it makes it easier on the eyes. And then I finish up with adding a gradient because I feel like it makes things more interesting that way. Do a Gaussian blur and I reduce the opacity to almost null and then I put it to overlay. There we go. There's our finished product. So if you liked the video, once again, please press that like button. And you can expect more from me in the future. I've got a Instagram and a Discord, and I will link those down below in the description if you would like to check them out. And I appreciate your time. Thanks for visiting Max's Roost, and, have some tea on your way out, okay? Alrighty. I hope you have a great one.